Hello Mila, hello Jack. Hello everybody else who's watching. Welcome to Storytime with Grandad. Today's book is from Willo the Wisp and is Mavis and the Viking Trolls. Hello, I'm Willo the Wisp. I see some very curious things here sometimes in Doyley Woods, and strange people too. For instance, did I ever tell you about the time Mavis Cruitt found some seashells and met the Viking Trolls? No? Well, listen and I'll tell you the whole story. It all began early one summer morning. The woods were peaceful and still in the morning sunshine, and Twit the bird was twittering to himself high up on a leafy bough. Then all of a sudden, thump, thump, thump. The woods were filled with the sound of heavy footsteps. It was Mavis Cruitt tripping through the trees. You see, our Mavis was a little overweight, for a fairy that is. Mavis had just stopped to admire a flower when she discovered two seashells lying amongst the leaves. Mavis stooped to pick them up. "Seashells," said Mavis. "Fancy that." Now, it's a well-known fact that if you hold a seashell to your ear, you can hear the sound of the sea. Mavis held first one seashell to her ear and then the other. Then she held both shells to her ears at the same time. "Gosh," said Mavis, "you can really hear the waves beating on the shore and the seagulls crying, and—" Suddenly there was a cry of alarm. "Eek!" Arthur the caterpillar had just come across Mavis standing in the woods with those shells on her ears, and from where Arthur was standing, Mavis looked quite frightening to say the least. Mavis removed the shells. "Hello, Arthur," she smiled. "What's the matter?" "You gave me quite a shock," said Arthur, recovering his composure. "I thought you were one of them Vikings." "What's a Viking?" asked Mavis. "A Viking," explained Arthur pompously, "is the female equivalent of a Viking." "Oh," said Mavis, who was none the wiser. Then Mavis explained about the seashells and how Arthur could hear the sea if he wanted to, which he did. So they spent some time taking it in turns to listen to the shells, and were having lots of fun until evil Edna, the witch, came along. They could hear Edna clanking along the woodland path on her metal feet. Edna, as usual, was looking for mischief. "What are those things on your ears, fairy?" snarled Edna. "They're seashells," said Mavis. "Oh, really?" said Edna. "Well, I must say they suit you, dearie. You ought to wear them all the time." Edna grinned a wicked grin. "Just hold those shells right there, and I'll do you a little favour," said Edna. Before Mavis or Arthur knew what was happening, Edna had crackled her aerials and cast a nasty spell. "There," cackled Edna. "Now you look like one of those Vikings." And with that, evil Edna went off shrieking with laughter at the mischief she had caused. "Oh, Edna," cried Mavis, tugging at the shells, "what a rotten trick!" For Edna's spell had made those seashells stick like glue. "Don't panic," said Arthur. "Let me have a go." But pull as he might, the shells would not come off. Poor Mavis began to sob. "Oh, Arthur," she sniffed, "I look stupid with these shells stuck to my head. What will people say?" Arthur did his best to comfort her. "Well, who's going to see you, Maeve?" he said. "Here in the middle of Doyley Woods." Unfortunately, it didn't take long for Mavis to find out, because just then an army of Viking trolls came marching along. There were hundreds and hundreds of them, and a fierce-looking lot they were too. Arthur was no coward. Viking trolls or no Viking trolls, brave Arthur stood his ground. "Morning all," said Arthur casually. The biggest and fiercest-looking troll came right up to Arthur and glared at him. Arthur was just beginning to feel that things could turn nasty when the troll caught sight of Mavis Cruitt, resplendent in that rather unusual headdress. One look at that fair maiden held the troll spellbound. He fell to his knees and clasped her hand. "Oh, most lovely and adorable Viking," said the troll. We have sailed the deepest oceans, climbed the highest mountains, and marched across many lands to find you, and here you are at last." "Fancy that," said Mavis. Well, by this time, Mavis was surrounded by trolls, bending their knees in homage and bowing low before her. Then all at once, a group of trolls lifted Mavis shoulder high and carried her off through the woods, with the rest of the army marching along behind. "Hey, come back," shouted Arthur. "You no good airy trolls, bring our Mavis back at once." But it was no good. The trolls took no notice. Arthur watched helplessly as Mavis was taken before his very eyes. Where those trolls were taking her, Arthur did not know. When he would see her again, Arthur could not tell. What was one small caterpillar to do against so many? Actually, what did happen was this. The Viking trolls, having mistaken Mavis for their long-lost queen, carried her down to the sea and aboard a waiting ship, and from there they sailed with her to foreign parts. Meanwhile, back in Doyley Woods, everyone was terribly sad about losing Mavis. Arthur, Twit, Carwash, and the Beast sat around for days looking miserable, and the Moog simply couldn't stop crying. There was only one person who wasn't a bit sad about Mavis. Evil Edna. The thought of Mavis being captured by a passing troop of Viking trolls amused the witch no end. Then, one day, the Moog came bouncing through the woods carrying a stick. Only the stick wasn't an ordinary stick. It was Mavis Cruet's wand. The Moog didn't know it was a wand because, of course, the Moog wasn't very bright. He just thought it was a stick to play with and took it to Arthur for a game. But Arthur was in no mood for games. He was still feeling depressed about poor Mavis. "Not now, Moog," said Arthur. Then he caught sight of the wand. "That's Mavis's wand," cried Arthur. "She must have dropped it. Oh, Moog, you are so clever." "I know," said the Moog. Arthur picked up the wand and looked at it. He had an idea, but would it work? "I wonder," thought Arthur, "can a mere caterpillar cast a magic spell?" It was worth a try. Arthur plucked up all his courage and, grasping the wand firmly in one hand, said the magic words. "Come back, Mavis Cruet." There was a shower of stardust, and then, oh joy, Mavis appeared before them, looking just like her old self again. I've done it," shouted Arthur, jumping up and down. "I've brought our Mavis back from those horrible airy trolls. I'm a genius." Mavis, however, didn't look too pleased at being home again. Apparently, life with the Viking trolls had been rather fun. "You're not a genius, Arthur," said Mavis sulkily. "You're just a spoil sport." The end. Goodbye, Mila. Goodbye, Jack. I'll see you soon. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.